When is something finished? I don't really know, but my paper model of Charlotte Katakuri from One Piece definitely is not. When I last worked on Charlotte Katakuri of the Big Mom Pirates, I did this much. Except he had pecs back then too. I tore them off. Now this was just to get him to the point where he looked like a complete model. Like he had 2 arms, he had 2 legs, but if you're a One Piece fan, you would know that he definitely wasn't. He still needs the straps on the top of his boots, the second spiked bracelet around his left leg, and the one on his forearm too, the extra little parts that flick up on the back of his gloves, he needs a butt, and his jacket. So there's still some work to be done. And also I need to make some upgrades to the model itself. I began making Katakuri at the start of the year when we still hadn't seen everything from him in the manga, which meant that I didn't know what his tattoos would look like beneath his jacket and scarf. So I've gone in and redone his upper back to add the additional patterns, which look great, by the way. I love this design here. It's a really cool pattern. I buffed up his neck a little bit as well to be more manga accurate, and I still need to redo his chest with the updated tattoo design as well, which was why I ripped off his old pecs. And I started making him blonde before he appeared in the animation as well, so the only colored picture of him I had was this volume of the manga right here, which meant that I had to decide for myself what color his knee pad would be. And I chose this blue violet for the main color with like this light brown for the off color, and I thought, well, blue violet or purple kind of go together with the pink color scheme. It sort of fits the theme of the family, and it's also the color I chose for his gloves and the bands around his thigh, but man, it didn't look great. I didn't like it in the end, and I don't know what I was thinking with this brown. It's just ugly. But fortunately now he's appeared in the anime and his design is out, so that's so much worse. I don't really think having his knee pad just be pink and white is a good idea. He needs another color. So I played around with a few color combinations and I came up with this. It's basically the same as his official design, but I have this soft greenish blue replacing the white, and I think this makes this piece stand out a lot from the rest of his design because it's the only greenish color on his whole body. I'm happy with it. For the jacket, I just started wrapping random bits of paper around his upper body until I landed on something I was happy with. Then I cut open that piece, undoing all the grooves in the paper I've made until it is a flat piece of paper again. Then I simply traced it down into a new sheet of paper and colored it in appropriately. I also added some extra pieces to the side here to give the jacket some more shape. Some curve, like it's swaying in the wind and it was actually sculpted by a master of some kind and isn't just a piece of paper wrapped around. His jacket actually has this neat little belt going around the entirety of it, so I actually made cuts to each of the straps so the belts could pass under them when wrapping around his jacket like a real belt would. Ridiculous, I know. I could have just drawn it so it looks that way, but it was worth it. And his jacket is looking good. I really like this. I think the violet on the back stands out too. But something I noticed when making his jacket was the name he bears on his back. That of his family, the Charlotte family. The name he does not dare bring shame to by maintaining his ridiculous reputation of looking down on the ground itself for being too far below him. It is symbolic of the burden that he carries, the weight on his shoulders that makes him dare not fall. For even the slightest failure or imperfection to the Charlotte family is unacceptable. And it's actually within his final moments of his fight with Luffy that he throws this jacket to the side. And it is then that he falls, allowing his back to touch the ground in defeat for the first time. So that's a very cool little design detail there, not something I noticed when I was reading the manga. Eventually I decided that some of the colors I chose for him weren't doing it for me anymore and needed to change. And fortunately, it's made out of paper, so I can just color over what is already there. Could also go in and add some blood and bruises to his neck area, so when the scarf and jacket come off, like in his battle with Luffy, you can have that battle damaged look that we saw on volume 89 of the manga. And the biggest final change I had to make were the arms. The first ones I made just didn't look natural enough. Just the way they are shaped with the sharp edges made them look kind of fake and not very natural or round looking as muscles on a human being should be. And the lines for the forearms here weren't very natural looking as well. There's a lot of little things that made me feel I could just do better, but the real issue is the massive design flaw in the elbow. You see, I thought it would be a cool idea to have the bicep hanging a little bit lower with the forearms kind of overlapping it as they would on real human anatomy, but the issue is, then that means the bicep is getting in the way for the arm to actually bend, and to even just make a basic 90-degree bend, you have to slide the whole forearm down just to reach 90 degrees. And now you have this hideous looking gap where there's a clear size difference between the tubes of paper, and of course I forgot to color it as well, so it just looks awful. This needed to be fixed. And for his brand new set of arms, it totally was. You can see, I think these ones are just improving on every area, especially around the elbow. The musculature of the forearm is a lot more natural looking as well, with the lines being a little bit better, a much better looking elbow. The tricep is a lot softer and actually looks like it has skin covering it. And these arms fixed all the problems by incorporating the brand new technique I've been using, which was to have the tube of the forearm go on the outside of the shoulder instead of the inside, and then the muscles of the upper arm going around that. Meaning that when the arm drops down for further range of articulation, provided you've colored it, there's not this huge hideous gap anymore in the arms. Overall, I think these new arms are a massive improvement for Katakuri and just look a lot better. I much prefer the brown and the gloves over the purple as well. So, with the upgrades being done, let's get him together. Oh, and his tattoo doesn't actually line up properly now. I wanted this lower section here to be on the upper arm, but the upper arm doesn't cover the shoulders enough, so it looks like there's 3 layers. There needs to be more of a gap in here between the pink. So there should only be 2 layers, and I mean, I could correct it, but it doesn't matter. Katakuri is complete, and he's not complete because I've got all the elements that make up his design, or because I've done everything I can to make this the best piece of work ever. No. He is complete because I have achieved all the things I set out to do for this model. And that is when something is complete. It's when you keep the promises you make to yourself and you reach the standard that you set, that you decide. That's what I think. That's when it's done. I could go on forever correcting every little thing, altering it to my personal whim, but embracing what I have done here, now, right before me, and not being weighed down by the smallest flaws or the slightest imperfections, well, I think that'd be a fitting end for Charlotte Katakuri.